Hey guys, Bada Bing here. Today we're going to be looking at the Marui M4A1 MWS GBBR, and at the time of filming it's just celebrated its second year on the market. So in honour of its second birthday, let's see how it's getting on. TM first began their journey as usual behind the veil of secrecy back in the early 2010s, taking their many years experience of airsoft manufacturing to create their first gas blowback rifle. It was revealed to the world in 2014, and from the looks of it, it was pretty much ready to go. There were no mock-ups or unpainted prototypes. We were all poised in anticipation of an imminent release. How wrong we were. Having used various type gas blowback rifles at that stage, I always thought that if TM ever made a gas blowback M4, it would be one of the best on the entire market. Their MP7 was a phenomenal performer right out of the box, so judging by their ethos that went into the MP7, the translation to the most popular 5.56 rifle would be something truly special. Alas, we weren't able to find out until over a year later. It was all set to come out within 2014, but at the last moment, TM decided to postpone the release until they got it perfect. They weren't completely satisfied with the longevity of the internal parts, particularly their bolt lock. So they took it back to the drawing board almost, to refine their design. Their continued effort to make the MWS as good as it can be really paid off. It goes to show the true dedication of the company and the care that goes into their products, ensuring it's good to go when it leaves the factory. The rifle was finally released to the world in November 2015, having spent several months being improved to the latest Z system, Z being marked as the final stage for durability and long-term endurance. Rotate the world a couple of years and here we are. And you know what? It's still as good as that first moment when I lifted it out of the box. To this day, every individual component feels well designed and fitted together. You can immediately recognise the care and dedication that took place during the development of the MWS by the way it all comes together. It's all so smooth and terrifically engineered, everything down to the easy to remove by hand takedown pins, the satisfying clunk as you break the rifle down, the bolt catch, dust cover, selector switch, smooth charging action, the list goes on. To look at this rifle, you may be thinking it's still brand new. The Cerakote finish applied from the factory has maintained its hard-wearing properties. The coating has surpassed my expectations and survived the rigours of your average skirmish use. I've had this rifle slung across kit and gear with magazines gliding all over the surface. To my surprise, it hasn't even exposed any bare metal, only light scratches which are only really visible in certain lights. There isn't much to report with the internals. The lower trigger mech still looks good. The only negative to report is an occasional trigger reset failure. A good clean out later, and it hasn't repeated the problem since. Speaking of the trigger, one of my few complaints I actually have of this rifle is the trigger reset isn't as positive as I'd like. As usual, with anything that's not up to the owner's liking, it can be upgraded, and thankfully there are plenty of options available, so you can have that definitive pull and reset that's to your preference. The bolt carrier is still in good shape, despite how it looks with minor paint wear and the area that's typically marred by the roller bearing hammer. The only parts I've replaced internally are the nozzle springs. While filming the UAC lightweight bolt carrier review, the main nozzle spring snapped and jammed up the rifle. If you've seen that video, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to. This happened roughly 1 year in. The stock nozzle spring isn't designed to be used with hotter gas other than 134A, so the increased speed of the working parts puts that spring under strain. The stock spring served me well, and the good news is that UAC have an upgraded spring set, which I currently have installed, along with an old RA-Tech N-Pass for WE gas blowbacks. Apart from that, the system has performed beautifully. The Z system has done its job. The bolt lock mechanism TM have revised as part of the Z improvements has been 100%. It's never failed. If you are experiencing any issues with the bolt lock, it's most likely down to one or two things. One being the magazine follower spring, and the second is usually the cause of using green gas or similar. The quicker the bolt carrier moves, the less likely the bolt catch has time to bite onto the carrier. The magazine follower spring has a tendency to dislodge and fall within the BB reservoir. In this case, it would fail to activate the tab on the rear of the magazine. Disassembling the magazine baseplate will grant you access to the feed chute, where you can inspect the follower. Reset the spring and the tab on the follower, and you're good to go. To overcome the issue where the bolt carrier moves too quickly to connect with the catch, you must unscrew the castle nut and unscrew the buffer tube 1 revolution. Be careful not to lose or damage your rear takedown pin spring. Once you have performed this solution, it gives the bolt carrier slightly longer travel, time enough for the bolt catch to engage. Easy fix. Most of you are aware of the green gas mod. This requires the silver siphon tube to be removed. This allows the magazine to hold a higher volume of gas than before. I think TM have begun to get wise to this mod and are using glue to hold the tube in place. Take great care when removing these, as they can be very stubborn to take off, and you don't want to damage the brass threads or the fill valve that lives underneath. It's probably best not to fill longer than 14 seconds, as you may experience inconsistencies or heavy spurting of liquid gas from the ejection port. I usually fill my magazines with a solid 10 seconds or so, and this does just fine in hot and cold temperatures. Speaking of the cold temperatures, I was very lucky to have the perfect conditions to demonstrate this platform's ability to perform. As is the case with most gas blowback rifles, magazines kept in warm pockets can make all the difference between successful operation and not so successful. Can't actually tell if any BBs are coming out because all I see is just snowfall. Must be firing at the BBs. Can't see them. Oh yeah. Runs like a champ. Okay, this is a cold mag. As you can tell, it's been snowed on for a little while. Let's see how this will do. Cold weather testing. Okay. Oh, the joys of green gas in the cold. Yep, it's picking up the BBs. It's just exceptionally cold. The thing is, with the snow falling on it, it's transferring the cold straight to the mag. That little bit more efficient than if it was stood out in the open air. I think that's how it works anyway. Screw it, that's how it works. Because science. Flying low here. Yeah. I'm using 2/8 and it's still overhopping, but it's about to give it up anyway. Yeah, still loading the BBs. Think that'll help? Yeah. No way! I did load that magazine fully, didn't I? Did you just see that? Even if it's freezing cold and snowing, still locks back when it's empty. Despite the cold magazine and slow cycle rate, the BBs I was using here were still being hopped effectively, and to the usual standard I'd expect when used in mild weather. Love this gun. It's great. I just so happen to have a fairly cold mag from last time. Just put a drop more propane inside. So let's see how we do, shall we? You can tell it's not quite got that same snap, but it's reciprocating really well, and the BBs are going straight out there. In fact, I'm using 2/8, I think, and they're just slightly over hopping. Yeah. So completed the mag, locking back on empty. All with just regular propane on this weather. So we need propane and propane accessories. Propane, Bobby. Tales of its resistance to the elements can be found on various Facebook groups, as well as specific builds, tutorials and upgrades. If you're looking to join the community of MWS owners, be sure to check out the Tokyo Marui MWS gas blowback series group. The users that populate that group are friendly and very helpful. Speaking of upgrades, since my last video on this rifle, there has been an explosion of support from various companies. We enjoy brands such as Angry Gun, Ashura Dynamics, Dytac, Garda, Guns Modify, Modelworks, Auger, PDI, Prometheus, PTS, RA Tech, Robin Hood, Spear Arms, Tokyo Arms and UAC, all producing upgrades for this platform, ensuring every angle is covered. I've utilised a Spear Arms barrel adapter to install a Western Arms spec M4 outer barrel kit. This has allowed me to build an M16A4 with the help of the Modelworks A2 stock. God, I love that build. Seeing the success of my M4 MWS, a friend of mine just had to have one and ended up picking up a used CQBR. Using a Guns Modify WA spec barrel adapter, he installed, or I should say I installed, the GMP Mark 12 SPR front set. The idea is to maintain a low FPS, but keep fully auto and enhance the accuracy to a DMR standard, with various hop-up tweaks and some heavy rounds. It's a work in progress. I'll be back to let you know how we all get on. Even with all the upgrades that's available for the system, you could keep everything original and still have an excellent skirmish rifle. That's what this rifle does best: gaming. Sure, other brands like to dazzle the user with heavy recoil and realistic internals, but some struggle to achieve what actually matters the most. From the ground up, TM designed the system to perform above all else. Realistic internals and heavy recoil not even showing up on their radar. Just looking at the key features on the bolt carrier, it's clear they've devised a system that's geared towards shock mitigation and durable endurance. Before its release, individuals scoffed at the overcomplicated internals and that it's too over-engineered to be of any good. That and it's destined to break as soon as green gas is used. Well, it's still here, isn't it? While the methods TM decided to employ for the insides may seem intricate and unconventional, you have to admire the elegance of it all. To sum up my thoughts on the M4 MWS, well, for me personally it's damned near perfect. I had no doubt that when TM finally rolled out their own entry to the M4 gas blowback market, it wouldn't disappoint. Even from the box it came in, it's a delight. It's so well presented. Everything from the build quality, the reliable bolt lock, snappy cycle rate, smooth action, lots of aftermarket support, and a factory standard Cerakote finish that makes this rifle one of the top tier gas blowback rifles today. Furthermore, in my experience, the accuracy excels over its competitors right from the box. Here I send out a few BBs at this target at 20 meters. Besides having a few of those rounds fly off due to unfortunate gusts of wind, it produced a lovely grouping. This isn't the best it's shot either. Here's a sheet I printed earlier on this summer. The real negatives to speak of are its somewhat non-standard outer barrel and rail replacement, the unrealistic trigger, and also they retail from $450 to £500 or dollars, so it's not cheap, but as with most things in life, you get what you pay for. The consolation is that spare magazines aren't as expensive as GHK or VFC, for example. Also, because it's a Japanese-made airsoft gun for the Japanese market that caters to the host country regulations, it's designed to be used as such on the weaker gas. Anything that hovers around the strength of CO2 would not be advisable. Not that it would need it anyway. I've been using propane since day one and it hasn't disappointed. I get that it's not going to fit in with what attributes some people look for in a gas blowback rifle. That, and due to its operating system, it may not be suitable for players that have harsher climates, particularly in the winter. Within my host nation's climate, the MWS system is something I have absolute confidence in. From the sounds of things, I probably come off as a TM fanboy. To an extent, it's true, but with good reason. Their products are completed and ready for the customer when it leaves the factory floor. You might be thinking, well, of course, goes without saying that a product must be ready and do what it's advertised to do. But if you look at some of my previous reviews, that's not always the case. If I see anything that isn't quite right, I will always let you guys know. Thanks for watching the video, my friends. If you enjoyed it, why not hit the like, and if you haven't already, subscribe, then you can keep up to date with my latest videos. Any questions or comments, throw them down below, or ping me on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Bada Bing Pictures. I'm also on Instagram at Bada Bing Pictures, so you can follow me too on there if you like. Until next time, folks, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in a bit.